In a small town in Michigan, Michael Carter owned a struggling auto repair shop. On a cold Thanksgiving evening, when most people were celebrating with their families, Michael chose to help a stranded family with car trouble. He gave up his own holiday plans to fix their vehicle. This simple act of kindness led to an incredible turn of events that would change his life forever. Hi everyone, welcome to Life's Touching Stories. Today I'm excited to share a new story with you. Michael Carter wiped the sweat from his forehead as he looked at his small auto repair shop's accounts. The numbers weren't good. Bills kept piling up and customers were becoming scarce in their small Michigan town. The cold November wind rattled the workshop windows as he sat alone in his office. His phone buzzed. It was his sister Laura. "Are you still coming for Thanksgiving dinner tomorrow?" "The kids really want to see their Uncle Michael," she said. Michael smiled, thinking about his niece and nephew. "Of course, I'll be there at 5, he replied. The next day, Michael spent the morning working on a few cars. The holiday season was tough. Many people were leaving town to visit family, and his business was slower than ever. He could barely afford to pay his 2 employees their wages. At 4:30 p.m., Michael locked up the shop. He put on his worn jacket and headed to his truck. The temperature had dropped below freezing, and snow was starting to fall. His phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello, is this Carter's Auto Repair?" a worried woman's voice asked. "A car broke down on Highway 23. We've been calling every shop in the area. Nobody is answering because of Thanksgiving. We have 2 small children with us." Michael looked at his watch. His sister was expecting him. The family would be disappointed. But something in the woman's voice made his decision clear. "Where exactly are you located?" "I'll be there to help," he said. "Thank you so much. We're near mile marker 45. The car just stopped working." "We were driving to Chicago to visit my mother in the hospital," the woman explained. Her voice was shaking from the cold. Michael called his sister, Laura. "I'm sorry, there's a family stranded on the highway. They have kids with them. I need to help them." Laura understood. That was just who her brother was, always putting others first. He drove through the growing snowstorm. After 20 minutes, he saw a black SUV on the side of the road. A man was standing outside waving his flashlight. A woman sat in the car with 2 children, trying to keep them warm. The man introduced himself as Robert. "We're so grateful you came out on Thanksgiving. Every other place was closed. We didn't know what to do." Robert said, his relief obvious in his voice. Michael got to work immediately. The temperature was dropping fast, and he wanted to get this family back on their way as quickly as possible. Little did he know this Thanksgiving sacrifice would lead to something extraordinary. Michael opened the hood of the SUV and checked the engine. Despite the expensive car model, it had a serious fuel injection problem. The repair would take at least 3 hours. The snow was getting heavier, and the wind was picking up. "Your car needs major repairs. It's not safe to drive like this," Michael told Robert. "The nearest open shop is 2 hours away in Chicago. I can fix it here, but it will take some time." The 2 children in the back seat were wrapped in blankets, looking scared. The woman who introduced herself as Anna spoke softly. "We need to reach Chicago tonight. My mother had a heart attack." The doctors say, her voice cracked with emotion. Robert held her hand to comfort her. Michael thought for a moment. "My shop is 10 minutes away. I can tow your car there and fix it properly. It's warmer, and there's a small waiting area for your family." The couple agreed, grateful for his help. At the shop, Michael worked quickly under the bright lights. He noticed Robert making several phone calls, speaking quietly. Anna helped the children with coloring books she found in her bag. They looked expensive, like everything else they had. The hours passed. Michael's hands were cold and sore, but he kept working. He saw how worried Anna was about her mother. He thought about his own mom, who he had lost 2 years ago. He understood their rush to reach Chicago. Around 9 p.m., the repair was finally done. Michael had replaced several parts, working as fast as he could. When Robert asked for the bill, Michael hesitated. The parts alone cost over $800. For a family rushing to see a sick mother on Thanksgiving, it felt wrong to charge full price. "Just pay for the parts." "No labor charge today," Michael said. Robert tried to argue, but Michael refused. "Consider it a Thanksgiving gift. Just get your family to Chicago safely." Anna had tears in her eyes as she hugged Michael. As they prepared to leave, Robert handed Michael his business card. Thank you. You gave up your holiday to help strangers. People like you are rare, Robert said. Michael put the card in his pocket without looking at it. He was just happy to help. The family drove away into the snowy night. Michael closed his shop, exhausted but satisfied. He never expected that this business card would soon change everything. The real surprise was still to come. The next morning, Michael arrived at his shop early. He found the business card Robert had given him and finally read it. His eyes widened. Robert Thompson, CEO of Thompson Automotive Industries, the largest car parts manufacturer in the Midwest. Michael could hardly believe it. He had helped the CEO of a billion-dollar company, but he didn't regret charging only for parts. He had done what felt right, regardless of who they were. A week passed. Michael focused on his work, struggling to keep his shop running. He had to let one of his employees go. The bills were becoming too much to handle. The bank was threatening to foreclose on his shop. One cold December morning, a black limousine pulled up outside. Robert Thompson stepped out, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Michael's monthly income. "Good morning, Michael. Do you have a moment to talk?" Inside the office, Robert got straight to the point. "After you helped us, we made it to Chicago in time. Anna's mother's recovering well, but that's not why I'm here. Your kindness that night impressed me deeply." Robert continued, "I did some research on your shop. You're known for honest work and fair prices. People trust you. That's exactly what I need." Michael listened, confused about where this was going. "I'm expanding Thompson Automotive. We're opening authorized service centers across the country. I want your shop to be our first flagship location," Robert explained. "We'll provide full funding for renovation, new equipment, and staff training." Michael sat in silence, trying to process what he was hearing. "But my shop is small. I can barely keep it running," he said honestly. Robert smiled. "That's exactly why I'm here. You proved your character on Thanksgiving. Money can't buy integrity like yours. We'll keep your name on the shop. You'll remain the owner, but with our full backing. No more financial struggles. What do you say?" Robert held out a contract. The terms were incredible. Full autonomy, guaranteed supply of parts, and a partnership that would solve all his money problems. Michael thought about all the times he had helped people, like he helped Robert's family. How many times he had reduced prices for those in need. Now that same kindness was coming back in ways he never imagined. Michael signed the contract with shaking hands. Within weeks, his small shop transformed. New equipment arrived daily. The worn-out sign was replaced with a sleek new one. Cotter's Auto Care, a Thompson Automotive partner. His old employee returned along with 5 new skilled mechanics. Michael kept his policy of fair pricing and honest work. The shop's reputation grew quickly. People came from neighboring towns, trusting the Carter name. Anna Thompson visited one day with her children. "My mother asks about you often," she told Michael. "She says you're the reason she got to see her grandchildren that Thanksgiving." The kids gave Michael a drawing they made of him fixing cars. Robert's support went beyond business. He invited Michael to industry events, introducing him to important people. "This is the man who showed me what true service means," Robert would say. Michael stayed humble, treating every customer the same way. One morning, a familiar face walked in. It was Laura, Michael's sister. She looked around the transformed shop with tears in her eyes. "Mom and Dad would be so proud," she said softly. "Remember how Dad always said kindness comes back to you?" The shop's success allowed Michael to start a program helping low-income families with car repairs. He remembered his own struggles and wanted to help others. Robert fully supported this initiative, matching every dollar Michael put into it. Local news channels ran stories about the shop. They called it the Thanksgiving Miracle. But Michael knew it wasn't just about that one night. It was about every time he had chosen to be kind, every customer he had helped despite his own problems. During the next Thanksgiving, Michael hosted a dinner at his shop for employees and their families. Robert and Anna Thompson joined them. As Michael looked around at all the smiling faces, he realized how much his life had changed in one year. "You know what makes this special?" Robert said during dinner. "You're still the same person who helped us that night. Success hasn't changed your heart." Michael nodded, understanding that his greatest wealth wasn't in his bank account, but in the lives he touched. 3 years after that snowy Thanksgiving night, Carter's Auto Care became a model for all Thompson automotive service centers. Michael now oversees 10 locations across Michigan, each following his principles of honest service and kindness. Every Thanksgiving, Michael keeps his original shop open for emergencies. His team volunteers to help stranded travelers, never charging labor costs that day. It's our way of keeping the spirit of that night alive, Michael tells new employees. Anna's mother recovered fully and often visits the shop. She brings cookies and tells everyone how Michael's kindness gave her extra years with her grandchildren. The drawing those kids made still hangs in Michael's office, reminding him where it all started. The bank that once threatened to foreclose now features Michael in their small business success stories, but he makes sure they include how Robert Thompson took a chance on someone just because of an act of kindness. Michael created a foundation helping young people learn auto repair. Everyone deserves a chance, he says. Robert matches every donation, turning the foundation into $1 million program. Many students get jobs at Thompson Automotive after graduating. Laura's children now work at the shop during summer breaks. Uncle Michael taught us that being kind is the best business plan, his nephew tells customers. Michael smiles every time he hears this, knowing his parents would have loved seeing their grandchildren learn this lesson. Last week, another stranded family came to the shop. Michael worked on their car himself, just like old times. The father asked why such a successful business owner still worked on cars. Michael smiled and told him the Thanksgiving story. Sometimes the smallest choices have the biggest impact, Michael said. I could have driven past that family in the snow. Instead, I stopped. That choice changed everything. The man nodded, understanding the deeper message. Today, Michael's shop is more than a business. It's a symbol of how kindness can transform lives. Every car that leaves his shop carries this story, spreading hope that good things happen to good people. 3 years after that life-changing Thanksgiving night, Michael Carter's auto repair shop was no longer just a business. It had become a cornerstone of the community. One snowy morning, Michael walked into the shop and saw the cheerful chatter of young trainees working on cars. Among them were his niece and nephew, Michael Jr. and Lily, who had started learning the trade. Michael Jr., Lily, what have you two learned today? Michael Jr. Uncle Michael, I learned how to change the oil and check the brakes. It's not that hard, Lillian, and I'm learning how to diagnose engine problems with the scanner tool. It's so cool how technology helps us fix cars faster. Michael smiled as he watched them work. He thought back to the early days when his shop barely had enough tools to stay operational. Michael, you know, kids, I don't just want you to learn how to fix cars. I want you to understand something even more important. Every car you repair is an opportunity to help someone. Michael Jr., you're talking about that Thanksgiving story, right, Uncle Michael? Michael, that's right. That night taught me the most important lesson of all. Sometimes the smallest decisions, like stopping to help someone, can change their life, and yours too. As Michael shared the story, other young trainees gathered around, listening intently. He recounted the snowy night when he helped Robert and Anna Thompson's family, and how that act of kindness led to unimaginable opportunities. Trainee, Mr. Carter, what made you help them that night, even when you were struggling yourself? Michael, it's something my mother always said. Kindness never costs you anything. Even though I didn't know who they were, I knew helping them was the right thing to do. And as you can see, that one act of kindness started a journey I never expected. Michael looked around the shop, now filled with eager young faces. Many of these trainees were from disadvantaged backgrounds, and Michael had offered them free training as part of his community outreach program. Others were interns hoping to gain real-world experience. To all of them, Michael taught not only skills, but also values like honesty and empathy. Lily, Uncle Michael, do you think one day Michael Jr. and I could run this shop? Michael, if you both keep a kind heart and always put sincerity first, I believe you'll do even better than I did. That afternoon, Michael added another photo to the wall of his office. It was the drawing that Robert and Anna Thompson's children had given him, with the words, "Thank you for fixing not just our car, but our hope." Michael stared at the picture, filled with gratitude. He knew that the most important legacy he was passing on to the next generation wasn't just a successful business. It was a philosophy. Let kindness lead the way. Love this story? Tap that like button and subscribe to Life's Touching Stories for more. Let us know how this story made you feel with a single word in the comments.